Hello indie game fans, as always, I have more updates, DLCs and releases that I missed, with excellent action games at the front and back, as well as some strategic titles sandwiched in the middle. Let's begin with Ghostrunner Project Hell, the paid DLC to a fantastic first-person cyberpunk action game from 2020. You play as Hell, a boss character from the base game, inverting the premise where you're crushing rebels instead of fighting against a tyrant. The action looks similarly slick, with first-person melee and parkour, but does add in new mechanics like a super jump instead of a grappling hook, being a great additional experience to the game. If you love physical board games like me, I'm sure that titles Gloomhaven and Mage Knight will be familiar to you, and if you are not, these are simply very good games, of which Paladin's Oath draws inspiration from. This has elements of RPG, deck building, puzzle and strategy, where you play as a paladin on a quest to liberate the land and its people from otherworldly monsters. It looks very strategic with loads to plan and tinker with, which is my type of board game, so definitely check this out if interested. I got an email from someone on the team that made Shadow Burglar, where this, impressively, is a student project from a school in Montreal, and while it lacks a little bit of polish, it is a free entry that I think is worth checking out.
I'll avenge your death, Will. I swear it.
You play as a thief with the ability to morph into the shadows, having to steal back the paintings of your deceased brother, set in a moody, noir-style 1920s London, so see what the next generation of game developers are like with this. When I came across Northend Tower Defense, I was quite impressed with this, since while it bills itself as a tower defense game, the strategizing and layout is quite different from what I am used to. It seems to be set in a time period around World War II, with period-appropriate weaponry, where you're defending against an enemy beach landing by placing riflemen, mortars, snipers and more, and calling in reinforcements like tanks and bombers to help as well. It is in early access with only 2 levels, but some amount of replayability, making this one to watch.
I am Akuyandi, king of the Krach clan, and it fell to me to uphold this fragile peace.
One of you in the comments that asked me to check out Noara the Conspiracy, and I'm glad that I did, since it is a very interesting tactics title that does have real-time resolution of actions, having auto chess-like elements of building your team as well. It did release in early access in November last year, but did not get that much traction and will be going free to play on the 17th of March with cosmetics only monetization, so hopefully this will give the game new life. One of the cutest co-op games in recent memory is KeyWe, where you and a friend play as 2 KeyWe birds running a post office, where the developers are back with a paid DLC titled the 100th Grand Old Telepost Tournament. This is an annual tradition that will test would-be postmasters, having them tackle a variety of new obstacles as they race towards the finish. Broadening the scope of the game to outside of the post office does give the developers more flexibility in the types of environments and obstacles that they can use, with new cosmetics, rewards and more. One of the games that impressed despite first launching on the Epic Games Store is the relaxing city builder Before We Leave, having a decent performance on Steam, and despite it not being an early access title, has just put out a free update titled Wasteland. It is the second anniversary of the title, and sadly, the last update to the game, with new mechanics and buildings as well as the toxic wasteland tower that you need to contend with. Free updates are always nice, and there was no reason for the developer to have to make this, so a big shout out to the team for giving us more entertainment. Let's kick off the top 3 with Ignited Steel Mech Tactics, one that I messed up since I forgot to cover this when it launched last week, so I'm making amends by showcasing this awesome tactics title. This is a roguelike tactics game where you have to recruit pilots and upgrade their mechs as you travel the galaxy in order to defeat a sentient AI, having good tactical action and an art style that I love. The developer did choose a challenging subgenre, since anything in this arena will be compared to Into the Breach, which is a very high bar, but this title is not a simple clone and does have unique ideas of its own. The main gimmick here is that your mechs do overheat, so you need to manage that while planning your actions, and with roguelite replayability will provide plenty of hours of fun. One of the roguelite platformers chugging along in early access is 30XX, essentially roguelite Mega Man X, and continues to impress with the latest update titled Abyssal Armory. The key highlight is a new level and new boss which plays with gravity, as well as the usual expected new powers, upgrades and more. Interestingly, they have added a set bonus system where collecting all the pieces of a core set does grant you a bonus, so if Diablo 2 is anything to go by, it should give you plenty of incentive to keep playing this game. One of the highlights in the roguelite space in recent memory is Risk of Rain 2. A title where the developers made a beautiful, seamless transition from 2 to 3D, resulting in one of the most popular roguelites of all time, which is very impressive work. Naturally, that opened up an avenue for a DLC titled Survivors of the Void, with 2 new characters in the Railgunner and the Void Fiend, as well as new items, enemies, stages, and even an alternate ending. I believe that this DLC has already sold more copies than most indie games, so kudos to the team with their well-deserved success, taking the #1 spot. For more roguelite titles, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.